Queen Mary was consort to King George V. Both her sons, King Edward VIII and King George VI, and her granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth II, would ascend to the throne in her lifetime. The Royal Photograph Collection houses Queen Mary's 33 albums, which contain over 12,000 photographs that she collected, arranged, and captioned in her own hand, which provide a visual narrative of her life from 1880 to 1952. The albums document her official engagements and family gatherings, and this project will make the albums safer to handle, which will allow them to be digitized, researched, and displayed within the Royal collections in the future. It's a really interesting project because it spans 70 years of photographic history, of history in general.
When a book is bound from scratch, you essentially have three stages. You have the sewing, then the forwarding, and then the gold finishing.
After discussions with the Bindery team, we decided that for some of the albums, they needed to be disbound and rebound again. With that in mind, we started with removing the guards, cleaning off the residual adhesive, and preparing the album pages for conservation.
Generally in conservation is that everything we make, we try to do it so if a conservator wants in the future to, let's say, remove something because it's not the ideal material in 40 years' time, we want to give them this ability to work again on it without causing damage on the object.
The first step with any type of paper conservation is to dry clean or surface clean the paper. Some of the album pages were splitting because of the type of pulp that had been used almost 100 years ago in some cases. They deteriorated so far that they needed to be consolidated, and so that was the next step. The Bindery team and myself had to actually repair certain album pages where there were major losses.
As part of my conservation work, I had to rebuild areas that they were missing, especially close to the joints, because of the pressure as you open the albums. Sometimes the pages would break. So all these areas had to be repaired and they had to be filled again with new materials so they can be extended to the original width. Early techniques of photography were very sensitive to specific adhesives, and just from the research I was doing as I was working on the books, I realized that I should avoid contemporary adhesives that potentially could harm in the long term. So I went back to very old and stable adhesives that they have been used in bookbinding for like more than 4 centuries.
It's really been a bit of a struggle to try and figure out how best to keep these albums intact as they were meant to be, but also to provide some barrier layers when necessary between certain types of photography that probably shouldn't be in face-to-face contact with each other.
I had to join them again into folios and then sew the book together to become one thing. Then new boards sometimes would be made for the bindings. There were bindings in different stages, so there were bindings that they needed a full new cover and others that they didn't need that much conservation. For those that we had to create a completely new binding, new materials were used like new leather, new boards, everything was acid-free and conservation-friendly. And then after the book was created again as a new album, I would do gold tooling on them and then the book would be completed. So here I have volume 28 from the 33, and this is volume 1. They are now both conserved. With this one here, because it is an original bind, it has Queen Mary's block cipher there, and the tooling on the spine is original. And I had to keep as much of the original material as possible.
As a last step after the album pages have been rebound, the finishing touches for the albums is to go back in and check all of the pages to make sure there aren't any repairs that are still needed, whether that's tears that have been missed by accident during the assessment process, or if there are repairs that needed to be done after the binding was complete. And that's the final stage of the paper conservation aspect, as well as photographic conservation for any photos that are in need of some treatment. There have been some really interesting surprises as far as the format of a lot of the photography that's present. I mean, there are some very, very small photographs and some very large photographs, a lot of family photos, some really interesting panoramic views of various sites that Queen Mary visited. Then you have wondrous joys like this, where this looks like, and typically is, a guide to what you're looking at with these fold-out images. So with this, it's a really helpful one because this is the port of Gibraltar, so to see where all the ships had been. The Cameron, the Magnificent, Suffolk, Hindustan, the Commonwealth, the Irresistible, some really good names. And from a historical point of view, they're very interesting because they show what these places looked like before 2 world wars in some cases. It's been really fantastic to work with a bindery team who know how active books work, how important it is to make them usable, and that was our main goal with this, is to make these albums usable for the future.